Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss the next topic of chapter 10, government budget. Till now we had discussed the components of government budget. In that we had already discussed budget receipts. There are two types of budget receipts: revenue receipts and capital receipts. Now today we are going to discuss budget expenditure. There are two types of budget expenditure. The first, that is revenue expenditure, and capital expenditure. What is the difference between revenue expenditure and the capital expenditure? Revenue expenditure never affect on balance sheet. It never create any assets. It means it never increase in the assets or never decrease in the liability. It means revenue expenditure never affect on balance sheet, and as all of you know, balance sheet is related with assets and liabilities. So revenue expenditure never effect on assets and liabilities. It never increase in assets and never decrease in liabilities. Clear? That kind of expenditure are known as revenue expenditure. It is done by the government for the normal functioning of government departments and on provision of various services. It means these kind of expenditure done by the government for day-to-day normal activities. Clear? That kind of expenditure are known as revenue expenditure. Now we are going to discuss capital expenditure. What is the meaning of capital expenditure? Capital expenditure definitely it affects on balance sheet. It means it affects on assets and liabilities. Capital expenditure increases the assets, or we can say create the assets. When government is going to purchase any kind of assets, it means it increases the assets, but while purchasing the assets, government has to pay amount. That kind of expenditure is known as capital expenditure. While repayment of loans or reducing the liabilities. If government reduce the liabilities, suppose state government has taken loan from central government and state government is going to repay the loan. Definitely it reduce the liability. But that is also a type of payment, and this type of payment is known as a capital expenditure. Clear? It means capital expenditure increases the assets and decreases the liability. Clear? Now it is incurred for acquiring of assets. I told you right now, if government is going to purchase shares from any so and so company, so in that condition government is going to increase the assets. Clear? It means while purchasing the shares, then government has to do pay, and this kind of payment is known as capital expenditure. Clear? Next, granting of loans. If government is going to pay loans to anyone, in that condition, that is also a payment, and that kind of payment is also known as capital expenditure. Clear? Next, repayment of borrowings. If government is going to pay the loans to the public or to the rest of the world, if government has taken loan from the World Bank and government is going to pay repayment of that borrowings, definitely it reduce the liability, but it is also payment, and that kind of payment is known as a capital expenditure. Just I am giving you very simple example. If government is going to construct a hospital, clear, and for construction definitely government has to pay the amount. That kind of amount is known as a capital expenditure. Clear? When government is going to pay salary of the staff of the hospitals, or government has to maintain the hospital administration, so that kind of expenditure are known as revenue expenditure. Clear? It means if government is going to purchase any kind of defense, that kind of defense purchase are known as revenue expenditure. Defense purchase. Example of that, defense purchase, expenditure on defense. Suppose government is paying wage bills of the employees. It means salary and wages paid to the employees. Wage bill, that kind of payment is known as a revenue expenditure. Interest payment on loans, that kind of payment are also known as revenue expenditure. Clear? Now suppose government is going to open a new education center, college or school, in that kind of expenditure are known as capital expenditure. But salary of the staff of that kind of expenditure, salary, administration expenses, wage bills, whatever the expenditure done for the maintenance of that hospitals or education, that kind of expenditure are known as revenue expenditure. Clear? Now that is all for today. Thank you.